20 years later, I had enough money to buy anything I wanted, including revenge. My name is Sarah Chen, and I'm about to tell you how I turned my childhood trauma into the most satisfying purchase of my life. Growing up in Millfield, Ohio wasn't easy for a quiet Asian kid with thick glasses and secondhand clothes. But there was one place where I felt completely safe: my grandmother's house on Maple Street. The blue Victorian with the wraparound porch and the garden full of sunflowers. Every day after school, I'd run there to escape. Escape from kids like Derek Matthews. Derek was everything I wasn't: popular, athletic, cruel in that casual way that only teenagers can master. He had this thing where he'd corner me by my locker and do his impression of my grandmother's broken English. "Sarah, you eat more rice tonight," he'd mock, while his friends laughed. But the worst part? Derek lived just 3 houses down from my grandmother. So even my safe haven wasn't completely safe. I'd see him sometimes, throwing football in his yard, and I'd duck behind the sunflowers until he went inside. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she knew something was wrong. "Sarah," she'd say in her actual broken English, "someday you be strong. Stronger than boys who hurt you." She'd make me jasmine tea and we'd sit on that porch, planning my future. College. Career. Success. Fast forward 20 years. I'm the founder and CEO of Dataflow Solutions, a company I built from nothing that's now worth $47 million. The quiet kid with thick glasses? She learned to code, learned to fight, learned to win. I hadn't thought about Millfield in years until my cousin Jenny called me last March. "Sarah, I have some news. Grandma's house is going up for sale." My heart stopped. Grandma had passed 5 years ago, but the house had been tied up in estate issues with distant relatives. Now it was finally hitting the market. "I thought you'd want to know," Jenny continued, "in case you wanted to, buy it back." Buy it back. The idea hit me like lightning. That house represented everything good about my childhood. Every safe moment, every dream we planned on that porch. Of course I wanted it back. I called the realtor that afternoon. Margaret Hoffman, a sweet woman who remembered my grandmother. "Oh, Sarah. I heard about your success. Your grandmother would be so proud. The house is listed for $350,000, but honestly, there's already significant interest." Significant interest. That should have been my first warning. "Can you tell me who else is interested?" I asked. "Well, I probably shouldn't, but it's Derek Matthews. He's been calling every day since we listed it. Apparently, he's quite desperate to get it." Derek Matthews. My blood went cold, then hot, then cold again. I hung up and immediately did what any tech CEO does: I researched. Facebook, LinkedIn, public records. Derek Matthews, age 38, works at his father's insurance company, married to his high school sweetheart Jessica, 2 kids. Still lives in Millfield. Still throwing that football in his yard. But here's what was interesting: according to property records, Derek had been trying to expand his lot for years. He owned the house directly next to my grandmother's, and buying her property would give him the space for his dream addition. The social media posts made it clear this wasn't just a want for Derek. This was his obsession. Post after post about finally getting the space we need, about turning our house into our forever home. Jessica had been posting about nursery plans, home office ideas. They'd been planning this expansion for 3 years. That's when the idea crystallized. I wasn't just going to buy my grandmother's house. I was going to make sure Derek Matthews never got what he wanted. Again. I called Margaret back. "I want to make an offer. Cash. $400,000. "Sarah, that's $50,000 over asking. I know what it is. How quickly can we close?" 2 weeks later, I was holding the keys to 412 Maple Street. Derek had countered with $375, probably every penny he could scrape together. But you can't outbid someone who has venture capital money. I should have felt satisfied. But standing in my grandmother's empty living room, I realized buying the house was just the beginning. See, Derek had been telling everyone in the neighborhood about his expansion plans. The permits were filed, the contractors were scheduled. His wife had been showing off the architectural drawings at the local coffee shop. So I did something beautiful. I hired the same contractors Derek had planned to use, and I started my own renovation. Not an expansion, a restoration. I was bringing my grandmother's house back to its 1920s glory. But here's the beautiful part: I made sure every single detail was visible from Derek's property. The wraparound porch he'd planned to tear down? I restored it to perfection, extending it even further toward his property line. The sunflower garden he'd planned to pave for a driveway? I doubled it. Every morning, Derek would wake up and look out his window to see his dream renovation happening on someone else's house. With someone else's money. With his contractors. But I wasn't done. I hired an interior designer, not for me, because I still live in San Francisco. I hired her to create the most beautiful, welcoming family home you've ever seen. Picture windows facing Derek's house, showcasing the life he'd planned to build. Then I did something that even surprised me. I put the house up for rent. Not for profit, I set the rent at exactly what it would cost to maintain the property. I wanted a family there. A happy family with kids who could play in that sunflower garden. The applications poured in, and I chose the Patel family, Raj and Priya, with their 2 young daughters. They reminded me of my grandmother and me. Immigrants, working hard, dreaming big. 6 months later, Jenny called me again. Sarah, you need to hear this. Derek Matthews put his house on the market. Apparently, watching the Patel girls play in the garden where he'd planned his addition, seeing the family barbecues on the porch he'd wanted to claim, it broke something in him. His wife Jessica left him, took the kids. Couldn't handle his obsession with what he couldn't have. I should have felt triumphant. But sitting in my San Francisco office, looking at photos Jenny sent me of the Patel girls chasing butterflies through my grandmother's sunflowers, I felt something else. Peace. My grandmother was right all those years ago. I did become stronger than the boys who hurt me. But strength isn't just about having enough money to buy revenge. It's about choosing what to do with that power. Derek's house sold last month. He moved 2 towns over. I heard he's working at a different insurance office, starting over at 38. The Patel family loves their house. Little Asha sent me a drawing of the sunflowers. Her sister Maya is learning to read on that same porch where my grandmother taught me to dream. And me? I sleep better now, knowing that sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's creation. It's taking the space someone tried to steal from you and filling it with exactly the kind of love they tried to deny. Derek Matthews taught me that bullies take things from people. But he also taught me something else, that the ultimate power isn't taking something away from someone. It's making sure that something beautiful exists in the world, even if they can never have it. Especially if they can never have it. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about justice served cold. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is living well. Very, very well.